Am I the a-hole for ruining my niece's birth over a name? Hi. All names have been changed for obvious reasons. I, 29 female, was pregnant with my twins a few years ago. Unfortunately, only one baby survived. A little boy who we called Henry. And my daughter who passed, we called her Daphne. Now, me and my sister were closer growing up, but we drifted apart. And there was rivalry on her part after I met my partner. For example, she hated that we got engaged before her. She has been with her partner for 3+ more years. And she threw a fit saying she wouldn't attend our wedding unless she was engaged too. They had an engagement as he wanted a happy life, and she threw an engagement party on the night before my wedding. When I announced my pregnancy, she wasn't happy, as I'd done another thing before her. But when my daughter died, she seemed to become a lot nicer. And because of this change, we made her Henry's godparent. She became pregnant recently and refused to announce a name until a few days after birth. The baby girl was called Theodora, which is beautiful. I was bringing presents to her, and then saw my dad building a huge toy box with Daphne on it. When I questioned, I was told the baby's called Daphne, and only Theodora in paper, that no one will use full name, only her nickname. All my family knew and supported her. I got upset and started shouting, asking if it was a cruel prank. She came out and told me to buzz off, that I don't own a name and she liked it since my baby's funeral. My family are on her side and say, why do I care? My baby's not here, so there is no confusion. I don't see why it caused a scene and ruin a happy time, and why can't I be happy for her? That I'm petty and cruel, and they want me to apologize, but I don't want to. Edit. Thank you for so many kind responses. To answer, I will not be reaching out to any of the family anytime soon. Also, to clear up some questions asked, I do think she was happy in my misfortune. Hindsight is great. I did not want to think the worst at the time, but I was very, very ill. Doctor told my husband I may die, so they delivered the children early. She told him she could take the babies if I died, as he could not cope alone. Fortunately, I survived, but I lost my child in the process. I do think she felt happy in this to see me suffer. She has always had a rivalry with me. I do not understand why. I don't make anything a competition, but she always has been a golden child. When I started dating my partner, she took him away from dancing with me at my birthday to tell him she thinks he would be better suited with someone like her, not like me. That she takes better care of her looks, has a better job. She does not think my job counts as it is working with disabled children, etc. She was also in a relationship at the time, so she always made it known I do not deserve the things I have. I would not say she wants to be me though. We have very different lives and look different, and she has not tried to copy my looks or career. Only things like men, marriage, babies, house, etc. Which I believe is more to want me than to be me, if this makes sense. Our family think she is an angel, and are very vocal on social media how beautiful and successful she is in all her endeavors, baby included. I do not get this, but I stopped caring a long time ago. I have come to terms with it, and I no longer feel like I need a negativity in my life and will stop flogging a dead horse, if that is the right expression. Now for the top comments. So not Dayhall. Especially her saying that she liked the name since your daughter's funeral. From all the names in the world, she chose this one. And the worst part is, it's not even the official name for the baby. I wonder if she didn't choose that name to hurt you. If I were you, I'd tell her to get lost and I would cut contact with her. She sounds toxic. Seriously, what the hell is this sick, twisted crap right here? Sister is disgusting, and OP is not Dayhall. I'm just about the least superstitious person on the planet, but naming your baby after a dead baby just sounds like you're tempting fate. Not Dayhall. What a cruel and tasteless thing to do. Throw the whole family away. Disgusting behavior. I'm sorry for your loss, and that you have to deal with such Nahal family. I lost a baby myself during pregnancy. It's a wound that will stay forever. Even though we weren't able to get to know them, they were/are still here. It's a complete different situation than when people call dibs on names. I'm sorry. I hope you can find peace far away from those people you have to call family. P.S. As it sounds, your sister was only suddenly nice to you after your loss so she can shine. Look at me how much I care and do. She's the biggest a-hole. I also think one of the other comments was right in thinking that the sister enjoyed seeing something bad happen to OP. She couldn't be kind or supportive when she saw OP as winning, but she was happy to play perfect sister as long as she was sure Opie was suffering. She liked it since my baby's funeral. How does a person not stop and reevaluate their entire existence after something so grisly comes out of their mouth? Not the a-hole. That line in Opie's post made my jaw drop. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for how I reacted when my husband said he won't be with me when I give birth? My husband, male 33 and I, female 26, are expecting our first baby together. I have a scheduled C-section on Sunday, and my husband said he can't be there with me because he has a business trip that he'll be leaving for Saturday evening. He said he couldn't skip the trip even if he tried, and claimed that because he missed several work trips in the past 6 months, he's worried he might lose his job if he declined to go. I asked him if he could explain to them that you have a valid reason not to come, but he said his boss doesn't listen and doesn't care. The problem is that this is my first time, and like any other woman, I wanted my husband to be there with me as support. His excuse was that I have an entire medical team. It is not like this was a natural birth because I will be under anesthesia. He suggested I take my mom or his mom with me, but as a father I expected him to be the first person to want to welcome our son, even if he couldn't be in the room. He said if he stayed there wasn't much he was going to do since again, I'll have doctors and nurses taking care of me. But if he goes on this trip, then he'll bring home money to support us. But I told him emotional support can never be replaced if my own husband won't be there to provide it for me. He clearly got upset over me continuously bringing this up, and this morning we had an argument where he called me selfish and making him look like a bad husband/dad, and accusing him of not caring about meeting his baby when he's trying to support us. I got mad at him for calling me that, and mentioned he had no consideration for how I feel about this, and acting like my concerns weren't valid. He said he got sick of arguing and got his phone and keys and about to leave. Before he left, he said I shouldn't worry because I won't die, which was a rude thing to say, given that I have my own concerns since this is my first time. He texted me apologizing for what he said, but said I kept pressuring him, knowing his circumstances. Edited to add, the previous trips he missed were over his friend's wedding, his brother's welcoming party, and his cousin's trip. If he could skip work trips for these reasons, then I wonder why his child's birth isn't necessary enough for him to stay. Not day hall. There's more afoot here. If you were able to schedule your delivery, then he had advance notice of the timing and should have the time off already. And if it was last minute, like a natural delivery is, his employer knows that it's coming. And you don't need him just for the delivery, but for everything else that goes with it. Getting there, any prep that goes on, the delivery and after delivery, the first days at home. I usually make a plea for fixing relationships, but this would be a deal breaker for me. If he truly believes delivery and infant care is something he can handle alone, then I think I'd call his bluff and change the locks. Yeah, strikes me as something more going on too. Why is he prioritizing work so hard now? Because work is code for girlfriend would be my guess. Not the a-hole. Is he curing cancer? President of the United States' favorite bodyguard? Flying a shuttle to an asteroid heading for Earth in a last-ditch attempt to drill a hole, embed a nuclear warhead to break it up, and hopefully save all of mankind? If his job is nothing like that, he needs to find a spine and a new employer. This is a scheduled C-section, so he's known for at least, 1-2 months? It's a major surgery. He should be there and has had plenty of time to stand up for himself and, frankly, start job hunting. This is the kind of scenario that usually puts things in perspective for people. Because the issue isn't just whether or not he's there for the birth of his child, it's a matter of the kind of father he's going to be. Somehow I bet the employer does not know. Most employers/bosses try to keep these kinds of things in mind. This would be divorce level for me. No time for someone who doesn't prioritize their family in literally the most important day of their lives. Honestly, this was kind of my dad, and I don't think my mom ever really forgave him for it. In their case, not birth, but I was hospitalized with the flu when I was 2, and my dad, 1, didn't cut his work trip short, and 2, didn't come to the hospital right away when he did get home, instead going straight to work to finish out the workday. He also decided not wanting to get fired. They didn't divorce, but they may as well have, the way they are now. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my son out? My 64 male 21-year-old son, his then girlfriend, and their baby daughter recently moved to my city from out of state. I live in an expensive urban area, so I welcomed them with open arms into my home while they got situated. Everything was going smoothly, until 2 months in and my son was arrested on a probation violation on an underlying robbery charge. Although my son has a spotty criminal history that has caused some tension in our family in the past, his robbery charge is far and above anything he's ever done, and it puts a very bad taste in my mouth. He's often careless, a bit selfish, and can be very immature at times, hence the probation violation. I was very angry at him when it happened, I still am, for throwing away his life and putting his girlfriend and my grandkid into a very difficult spot. His girlfriend broke up with him while he was being held in jail, and I also told him that he was not welcomed back into my home. It has been roughly a year, and my son has been released from jail. My grandkid and his ex-girlfriend still live with me, as I love having them here, and have come to love my grandkid's mother as my own daughter. I'm more than happy to help her with childcare and housing, especially because it's not her fault that my son made poor decisions that affected her. However, my son has nowhere to go. He has been couch surfing from friend's house to friend's house since his release, and has had some trouble finding work. He's very upset that I chose his ex and my grandkid over him, and is angry that I won't move him back into my house. If I move him into my house, my grandkid and his ex will need to move out, and I don't want that to happen. I've been standing my ground and not letting him back to my house. However, I'm beginning to wonder if I was too harsh on him. Now for the comments. Not today, Hall. His ex is family now, by blood. The son is ruining the vibe. He needs to man up. And you raised better. That's part of it. I was really out of the picture his whole life until he was in jail on the robbery charge, so I feel sort of like I owe him a place to stay since. But the grandkid and the mom are more important. The son may need help, but how can you help if he's bad with money? I kicked my friend out because of aggravated battery. You can't have that around the grandkid until he mans up. You're totally not the a-hole. Right now, if he can't get a job, it's because he doesn't want to. Everywhere is desperate. Could be the criminal record is hindering him, as well as his attitude. As someone with a felony, no, it ain't. The vast majority of kitchen jobs are now 15 plus an hour in places with a 7.25 minimum wage. There's very few kitchen jobs that background check. I don't know how active his job search has been. He has a bad record, but just 2 felonies, and he has kitchen work on his resume. Not today, Hall. Your grandchild is your priority, and that means prioritizing their primary caregiver, as in your son's ex. Your son is a grown man. He'll figure something out. I also feel kind of responsible for him because he's never really had to fend for himself before. And on top of that, I'm the one who convinced him to move to a whole new state, so he doesn't have many connections. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that she's the pregnant one? My 17 male sister, 19 female, went to a party and got pregnant. My parents, 42 female and 46 male, have been supportive and helpful throughout the entire thing. We have an adopted sister, 15 female. She was adopted because my mom's friend was fostering her and heard my mom had shared medical vulnerabilities. And when my mom talked to her about it, she realized how much she's been through, and after asking us, adopted her. Now, she is a really sweet person. It has always been really nice to us, but my sister has been tolerant of her at best. Yet when she got pregnant, things changed fast. She's just a jerk to me in general, with demanding things and acting like she owns the place and is my boss or something. But to our adopted sister, she doesn't mind throwing insults or being even more jerkish to her because she's too nice and scared to say no. She also makes fun of her for asking to sleep near or in the same bed as my mom on some days because of PTSD. I don't know what it was today, but when she started yelling at my adopted sister for not grabbing her water fast enough, I told her that, you're the pregnant one here. You chose to get with and get pregnant by some irresponsible deadbeat. I didn't choose to be your brother, nor did she choose to be your sister. So you can do things your freaking self. She retorted that she's the one dealing with all the stress of supporting it, and the one preparing herself for labor, which she already feared, and just dealing with hormones. I responded with, how do you think she, adopted sister, feels being in pain and dealing with trauma, and then having to deal with your sorry self? How do you think I feel knowing if something happens, I'm going to feel morally obligated to take care of my niece all because your stupid self couldn't be responsible? She told us to get out, and now I feel I may have gone overboard. Not the a-hole. Your sister is definitely the a-hole in the scenario. She's 19, you're 17, and your adopted sister is 15. Do your parents know that your older sister is tormenting your younger sister? Have you talked to your parents about this behavior / your concerns? Your sister is going to have to deal with the consequences of her actions. That doesn't include a free pass to treat others badly, and both of you are well within your rights to put up boundaries and maintain them. She isn't entitled to your help. You engaged in what I call word vomit, and it commonly happens when you tolerate bad behavior for so long without saying anything. Sometimes it just spills out of you. Resentment and bullying can definitely lead to these emotional explosions. While it's not kind to say hurtful things to others, it's often the result of allowing them to treat you badly for far too long. It's time to put your foot down and stop allowing your sister to get away with her behavior. Pregnancy has nothing to do with it. Not today, Hall. You need to sit down with your mother and tell her exactly how your sister is treating your youngest sibling. This kid has been through enough trauma without a spoiled oldest deciding that she is now a personal house servant. Not today, Hall. I don't care if you're pregnant or not. Who the heck taunts someone with trauma? Sounds like pregnant sister is an emotional vomiter. She's stressed, can't deal with it, and throwing her garbage on everyone else. It's hard being pregnant, I get it, but find help. Mistreating family will get you nowhere and a lot less support. Not today, Hall. Good for you standing up for younger sister. Maybe you went too far? However, if your sister's behavior is that bad, then she deserved it. Standing up for yourself or others that are being harassed is never a bad thing. Where are your parents in all this? I would definitely make sure they know she's tormenting your younger sister. Am I the a-hole for ruining my sister's wedding? I, 24 female, was with my ex-fiancé Nathan, 27, since I was 13 and he was 15. He was my first love, my first everything. We got engaged when I was 20, and about 6 months after we found out we were expecting. Unfortunately, I miscarried a couple days later, and that was the worst moment of our lives. We always dreamed about starting a family early, so this was a major blow to us individually and to our relationship. I fell into deep depression, and I admit I was wrong for only caring for the loss I felt, and not my partner's. We argued a lot. He partially blamed me, and I accused him of not knowing how it felt to lose a life you were growing inside you. We were hurting each other, and decided to separate for a while. That while turned into a year. We still kept in contact. I went to therapy and worked on healing myself, and he even came to a few sessions with me. We decided to get back together shortly after my 23rd birthday. However, the relationship wasn't the same. He was somewhat withdrawn from me, and I thought it was because he still blamed me, and I was sick, overthinking and worrying. It got to the point where I was going backwards in my process, so I decided to snoop through his phone. That's when I found out during the year we separated that he had been confiding in my sister, 27, and it turned to something intimate. He cut it off when we got back together, but the damage was done. She was pregnant. Turns out our parents and some of our friends knew about this. I kicked him out and cut off everybody he knew. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I got an invite to the wedding. Something snapped inside of me. I got drunk and I took a cab to my parents' house where they were throwing a party for them. Most of my family was there, and I basically showed up and gave a whole screw you speech to everybody. My sister ran upstairs in tears, and my parents called me Nahal for ruining the prospect of their wedding. I said good, because nobody apologized to me. Everybody just kept saying we were separated. Things happen and people fall in love. I should be happy for them. And that the heart wants what it wants. The worst part is, my sister told me maybe my baby died for a reason so she could get her happy ending. I'm regretting getting drunk now because I'm not a confrontational person, but I was so upset. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Thanks for all the support and encouraging words so far. I know this update is coming so soon, but I'd like to tell you guys a joke. My sister called from an unknown number a couple minutes after I posted this. I've blocked everyone. She asked, well, more like demanded, that I return the ring fiancé bought, since it would be disrespectful to keep anything from him knowing they're starting a family. She said how immature of me for basically not sucking it up and being happy for her. She even intended to make me her maid of honor. I apologized to her for ruining her party, and told her I'd mail the ring. But as for me and her, we're done. And to tell my parents the same.
I'm here bawling my eyes out waiting on my therapist to finish with another patient, so I don't turn to bottle again and go off again. Now for the top comments. I started dating my ex when I was 15 and we broke up when I was 23. If he ended up dating my sister, knocking her up, and then marrying her, I would lose my crap. While barging into a party, screaming at them wasn't exactly the healthiest decision you can make. Personally, I say screw them. They clearly don't care about you, and if you got some relief from doing what you did, I say congratulations. Not a hole. I did get some relief in the moment, but now I'm just so drained. Also, do not send that ring back. Sell it and use the money to help pay for your therapy. It's the least they can do. Holy crap, not a hole. My sister told me maybe my baby died for a reason so she could get her happy ending. Who the hell says that to anyone, let alone their sister? You had a miscarriage, which is heartbreaking enough. And then your sister swoops in and steals your partner and has the audacity to say something like that? I'm angry for you right now. I am so sorry that you've had to go through this BS. She was there for me during the miscarriage. I cried on her lap, and she was the first person I called when the doctors informed me. That broke me so much. I don't know how much therapy is going to fix me. Not a hole. Your own freaking sister said maybe your baby died so she could get her happy ending? Oh, hell no. I would intentionally wreck their wedding for that stuff alone. I have to be honest. I would probably show up in a wedding gown. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister when she was down? My sister is going through a divorce right now and she's devastated, for more reasons than one. When she got married, both she and her husband had kids from past relationships. He had 2 boys who were preteens at the time. She had my niece who was 4 and my nephew who was 18 months old. Back when they first got engaged, members of the family warned her she should maybe slow down. Her husband's boys were not at all happy or welcoming of the growing family, and they showed no love or like for my sister nor her kids. My sister said we were wrong, and the boys would be great older brothers and bonus sons. She was certain things would be perfect and they would be a real family in no time. 5 years later and the world has crashed around them. She and her husband are divorcing, and while he wants to stay in her kids' lives as a dad, his boys want nothing to do with her or them. And there has been no communication with them in the 5 months since this thing started. All my sister can focus on is her feelings. How it's breaking her heart, how she misses the boys, how she doesn't know why they don't want her, etc. Nothing about her kids were devastated that the boys they called brothers, were encouraged to love and consider real brothers, never gave a crap about them, and won't even say hi if they pass each other by on the street. And I know from my nephew that it's happened more than once. It annoys me because my sister cries to all of us, and never talks about the effect it's had on her kids. The other day we were all at dinner and she was crying about it again. My niece and nephew were upset too, but she only focused on herself again. So, when my sister-in-law brought them into another room to cheer them up with some Switch games, I told my sister she needed to stop thinking about herself and start thinking about the 2 kids whose worlds were turned upside down. That she had been warned by us before, and while she could be sad, she needed to look at how much worse is it for her kids who never remembered life without their big brothers, and now they have to face they were never their brothers, and that the love was one-sided for the last 5 years. She told me I was way too harsh on her, and part of me wonders if she's right. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Someone had to stick up for the kids while she's busy wallowing in self-pity. In front of them, I don't think parents should shield their kids from everything, even slightly bad, or deny themselves emotion if kids are watching. But really, her son is what, 6? Give the poor kid some security by maybe not sobbing all your divorce woes in front of him all the time. Not a hole. It sounds as if this info was exactly what was needed saying, even if sister felt it was too harsh. Sister and kids need counseling, and I hope they get it. This is the kind of situation that's above the pay grade of family members, and a professional is indicated. It's the type of situation above the pay grade of even some professionals. I hope they get the best of the best. Not a hole. Sometimes the truth hurts. Divorce is hard, but she also has small children to think about. She should try to get herself and the little ones into therapy to help get through this. that was suggested to her before, and she ignored it. Super frustrating. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not including my brother's wife with my friend group? To cut a long story short, my brother married a woman I knew from school. She was known as the mean girl, treated everyone like crap. Her mom had the same reputation, and everyone said it was learned behavior that started because their family was wealthy. She made junior and senior year of high school a nightmare for me and most of my friends with her attitude, and not helped by teachers letting her get away with it. I didn't see her for years, and my brother met her in a coffee shop. They hit it off, and it was a surprise when she turned out to be his girlfriend. It was also awkward. I don't like her. She's changed some, but she still has a streak of it in her, but better than she was back then. They got married last year, and it hit my brother that she has no friends of her own. She had her family there, her mom was still the biggest a-hole ever, but no friends. And so he asked me if I would include her with my friends. He knows I have a solid group of friends, and was hoping they would be her friends too. But none of my friends are on board, and honestly neither am I. So I told him no. There was a fallout from this. My brother is pissed, and we haven't had a great relationship in months. Thinks it's cruel to not try when I know she has no friends, and it's childish to dislike her over the past, and that my friends are a group of a-holes for not being willing to try. I told him not everyone wants to be friends with a mean girl who made life hell at any point in their life. That sometimes being civil is the best you can muster, and that I have always been that. It's breaking our parents' hearts because he is insisting we can't be close again unless I make more of an effort. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Homie, your brother sounds like he's being her dad. Setting up friendship with a sibling's friend group after marriage? Weird. Why not his friends? My wife can't make friends. Let's not explore why not. Why can't you be her friend? Is an absolute bizarre hill to die on for Opie's brother. It's telling he is not organizing couples outings with people he knows. If he cannot get his own friends to hang out with his wife, he can't expect his sister to force her group to welcome their high school nemesis. With a literal stranger, his wife would start the friendship in 0. With this group, it starts in negative 10,000. But with this group, he can try to make it his sister's problem instead of his. What a a-hole. Not the a-hole. There is a reason she has no friends. Your brother married a school bully and wonders why no one wants her around. She's your sister-in-law now, and you'll have to include her in family events. But with your friends? No. Has your brother told his wife to try? To apologize? Why is it the tormented ones are supposed to try harder than the tormentor? There is a reason she has no friends. Your brother is being weird by asking this of you, and refusing to accept your no. Who cares if he stays distant? This way you see less of her. And maybe she'll learn something from this. Not the a-hole. She's probably making his life miserable, pushing to be included. And once she is, she'll make Opie miserable and alienate her friends. Not the a-hole. She can find her own friends. Not the a-hole. There is a reason she doesn't have friends. She must not have changed that much after all. She is a grown woman. She can make her own friends, providing she can rein in her meanness enough. Your brother has 0 right to ask you that, and 0 reason to be upset because you don't want to. There is definitely something wrong with her if she cannot make friends after high school. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay my half of our cancelled wedding? My ex-fiancé and I came from a very different cultural backgrounds, and our families live on entirely different continents. I explicitly told him before we even got engaged that I always wanted a small, low-key wedding. I know that his culture have huge, lavish weddings, and he told me that this is what he wants. So when we got engaged, we had a long conversation which resulted in the compromise that we would have a big wedding in his home country, but drop some of the other aspects of his culture that I wasn't so comfortable with, or did not mesh well with my own culture. Regarding living situation and raising children. For future children, we did not have any children. This was not a huge amount of costumes. In fact, we just arranged to drop 1 and alter 2. So they streamlined better with my own culture, and we were both as happy as possible with this outcome. We began making bookings, reservations, and paying deposits for our wedding. This was all out of his bank account. This is because we did not have citizenship in each other's countries, so it was far less complicated for everything to be paid from an account of the same country. The intention was that, after we married, it would be much easier to get citizenship, and once citizenship was approved, we would merge our finances. And at this point, it would not matter who had paid for the wedding, since all our money would be together. 3 weeks before we were married, his mother and aunts got wind of one of the costumes we had arranged to alter, and lost it. Through conversations, they then found out about the other two, and eventually they threatened to disown him for being a bad son. They said it was cutting him off from his family, and that if that was what he wanted, they would make it easier for him. He begged me to change my mind, but I was firm, saying this is what we decided together. I wasn't going to drop our agreements because his family don't like it, when there are plenty of aspects my own family are uncomfortable with. Relationships are about compromise and communication, and ultimately the first priority are the two people in their relationship, not their family. He told me if I wouldn't budge, then the wedding was off. I said I had made my compromise. I still wanted to marry him under our original conditions when we had spent a long time negotiating, and originally felt were fair. Then he said that he had changed his mind and did not want to marry me. After a few weeks, he contacted me, asking me to pay him back for half the money he was unable to get back from the deposits we paid. Since it was so close to the planned date that we cancelled, and it was not a small amount of money. However, since he was the one who called off the wedding, and even at this point I would still marry him if he were to honor our original agreement, I don't think I am obliged to pay. I told him this, and he is very unhappy, since he now believes it is my fault that he cancelled for being unwilling to be flexible. Not Dayhall. I'm so sorry. You must be heartbroken. I know it probably doesn't feel like it now, but you dodged several bullets. His backing out of this wedding now due to family pressure. This shows you that he was always going to take his family's side in arguments, and best you find out now. Sounds like you would have been one of those spouses who are extremely enmeshed in their parents' clothes, and you would have had mother-in-law and sister-in-law interference all the time. He has shown that he's happy to make agreements with you and compromises, and then doesn't respect them. For example, he has zero regard for the agreements you had and the compromises you both made regarding the wedding. He's also now ignoring the agreements about the costs. And as for future kids, that agreement you made was never going to be respected either. I'm so sorry you've had to call off your wedding so close to the date. But much easier and better to discover how spineless and dishonest he is now, rather than having to go through a divorce and costly arguments later on. Not Dayhall. Also, tell him that his family was the one to essentially cancel the wedding, so they can reimburse him. Not Dayhall. 100% this. I hope you should tell him to send the bill to the aunties who had a fit. Not Dayhall. He didn't cancel the wedding. He did. He cancelled it after he decided to go against the agreement the two of you made. Since his family was in such an uproar that they threatened to disown him, tell him to get his money back from them. They can consider it the cost of getting their precious son back. Just want to add in regard to the agreement. If Opie were to be accused by him and his family of not having any honor, she could refute that he didn't honor his own promise towards her to begin with, and it was therefore him who dishonored her, not the other way around. Not Dayhall. You dodged a bullet there. Under no circumstances you pay him a thing. He called the wedding off, he pays. Not to mention the cost of the wedding was much higher because of the things he wasn't willing to compromise on. Sounds like the unfortunately common person who thinks compromise means do what I want.